Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to put together the 3D smiling snowman from Simply Crafty SVGs. So we jump right in with all the files that you cut. Just make sure you take the head pieces, which are numbered 1 through 8, and you see that it will cut out, and they'll cut out cleaner than what you see here. I had changed the font since I cut this out, so it would cut better. So it just will lightly cut into the paper mostly, except for maybe the 6 and the 8 will cut out, but it still will glue just fine on those tabs. So we want them in order because you need to put them in order because the head kind of tilts back. And make sure you take the shorter of the two pieces like that. So I put aside the other one with the body. And then I just add glue to either 1 or 2 of the pieces. Make sure they're good and folded on the score lines. You probably want to do that before you add the glue like me. And then go ahead and start from the top and then just match it up so that top fold for the tab fold matches up with the one next to it. And then line up the edges with the tab folds of the piece on the left. So it's going to be the same process for all the pieces, but I can't stress how critical it is to have them in order. Even if you have to use the included PDF file as a reference, you want to go ahead and make sure they're in order so we're from left to right. That's why I numbered these ones. The bodies are all the same, the body pieces. And you can see I'm just matching up that edge. The piece on the right side matches up with that tab fold. And then if you do get excess glue, just wipe it away. Fortunately, we do have panels, so if you do get any glue on the outside, which you try not to do, it'll be covered. So you'll just see me continue to add each piece one by one. And some of the tips, you could just make sure you anchor the first piece either to the first tab or the first 2 tabs. And then once they're good and secure, you can move on to the other tabs. So you can just go ahead and watch this, and I'm going to rejoin you as we get closer to the last piece. But you just keep on matching up that right piece edge to the tab folds. So I'm going to I'll explain it until this last piece, but they're all slightly different. So just make sure you watch what I do here, and once you start doing it, it gets easier. Okay, I'll be back shortly. Okay, so now we just need to connect the head together for those last tabs. So that's how it's going to go together. We're going to add glue to all the tabs. You can also add glue after the fact. I'm just kind of pushing them down with my tip of my glue bottle here. So the easiest that I found for this is to either start at the top or bottom. You want to match it up. Match that edge up to the tab fold. And then do the bottom tab and the top tab. And then you can reach in and align all the other tabs carefully. You can try to go in order, but I've done that many times and this seems to work a little better. So I'm just reaching in and you can see it kind of coming out and applying pressure. There we go. The head's complete. The big part on the bottom is the front and that's the back with that little small fold in the back, so the head's kind of lifted back. So now we're going to fold this longer piece for the head, and this is the shorter one of the two that are in the files. We're going to glue this together like that. So we're going to add glue to this little tab here and then line up the opposite edge here with the tab fold and just line it up in that section. Then that's going to go on the neck, but we won't do that quite yet. We want to put this piece in, this little piece. The big one is for the body, little one is for the head, and we're going to glue it to the inside. Now I couldn't do it this way, but basically that's what it's going to look like, because we're going to cover it with the hat, so you're not going to see those tabs anyways. So the way we're going to do it, I'm going to anchor one of the tabs. So I'm going to line up one side with the inside tab fold of one of those tabs. So just line it up, and then we're going to pull back those tabs and then fold over the panel. And what I like to do, and I do this regularly with any of these types of designs, is glue the opposite tab first for these, especially polygonal shapes like this. And then it just anchors it so we can glue the rest of the tabs. And I'm reaching in to apply pressure from within. And this is sped up a little bit, so you do want to take the time to make sure that each tab is good and secure before you move on. So again, just pressing them down and applying pressure from within until they're all secure. So again, you're not going to see that the hat goes on there. And you could also reach in to apply pressure from within as well on those tabs. So I'm kind of pushing them back. I pushed them inward and then outward because we'll be gluing those tabs to the inside of the head. So I'm going to flip all the tabs in except for one. Sometimes I match where I glue. I try to figure out where the seam is on that neck piece and just see where's the best place to place it. And you can see I'm just matching up the bottom part of the head to the inside tab fold or outside tab fold. And make sure it's glued good and well before you pull back like this. And for this one, I'm going to add glue to all the tabs because it's just easier. But if you have to do it in pieces or just a couple tabs at a time, you can kind of pull back the tabs and add the glue that way. But then it gets hard to add glue. So I'm going to take the tab opposite to the one I just anchored. And I just want to try to get it in the right place. So this will help the others align up properly. And you can see I'm just pressing on the inside, pressing that tab down to adhere it to the inside of the head. And then there you go. That's the piece that'll go into kind of, it's like the neck piece, but it goes in to hold the head on. And that's the front. So now we're going to put together a decision change. We're going to put together the body. So these are all similarly shaped. And before you get started, you want to make sure that you fold them all. Sometimes I've done designs where it's just curves and you curve them, but for this particular one, I thought it'd be easier for people to put it together if I kept the score lines in. And then we'll hide those those folds with the panels later on. Just makes it easier to assemble, especially if you're new to 3D paper crafting. So I tend to get all the folding out of the way first, if I can. Folding or curling, you'll see kind of what will be curling the panels, excuse me, later on. If you just do that, then you can just focus on one task. So this is similar to the headpiece. It's just a little bit longer than the one attached to the head. And we're just going to get that ready for a later step once we get the body put together. And then you see that larger panel there, that will be for the bottom of the box. So similar to the head, the difference is we don't have to keep track of the order in which they need to be put on. But I usually, with most curved items like this, attach the first top tab or bottom tab, and then make sure it's good and secure before I glue the remaining tabs. And I apologize for the lighting on this. I was trying a new camera setup and it wasn't optimal, but we just had to get through the video. So hopefully I made it at least good enough that you can see everything. So just continue to put the pieces on. Like again, you want to anchor the first piece and then glue the remaining pieces, making sure that those panel edges are matching up with the tab folds. So again, I'll meet up with you when we get towards the end of this one. So now we're to the last piece. So we're just going to finish this up. And then we'll have to connect the final panel tabs to the first panel. So just like we did the head, we can add glue to all the tabs. So we're gonna, you'll see that it'll go together. You can kind of pull it apart like this with your fingers. So just get it good and comfortable in your hand, or however you want to do it. I have a pretty small hand, so it's not that difficult. And then I'm going to glue this top tab first. And just lining up that edge again with the tab fold. And then making sure you push in all the other tabs before you continue. So I'm going to glue that last tab on, and then we'll reach in and match up, just adjust to glue those final tabs. So that's the reason why we don't put the neck piece on yet, and that's the piece that the scarf will go around. So you can reach in easily. So that's the body and that's the bottom piece. So we're going to put the bottom on first. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. So the tabs are on the inside. So go ahead and add glue or whatever your adhesive that you like to do. Some people like to use double-sided tape, like a score tape. I tend to use glue because I use it majority of the time, but I do use score tape as well. The score tape is not forgiving if you place it in the wrong place, and I tend to place things in the wrong place. So I'm going to add glue to all these tabs, which is fairly large. So my glue is fast drying glue. I mean, I'm using art glitter glue right now in that little applicator. But I just want to make sure it's good and wet so I can get around, because I'm going to gently kind of pull it down and match up that edge of the panel to all the bottom edges. You can do it all at once, but if you do it like this, what I'm doing is gently kind of pushing things to adjust it to make sure it matches. You can make it perfect, but really there's no need to be exactly perfect. Just get as close as you can, and then just apply pressure by rubbing on the tabs. And then you can flip it over and use something like a wooden takeout chopstick or a blunt tool to apply additional pressure to those tabs. If you watch a lot of my videos, you know I use this a lot. So I have a couple extras just in case, but they don't wear out very easily. And I got them for free. So now we're going to add the neck piece, which is the same exact process that we did for the head. So we're just going to anchor one tab first to the inside of the body piece. And we want to make sure it matches up to the corresponding edge on the body. And then we'll glue the opposite tab once this is good and secure, because you want it to be good and secure, because you don't want to pull it back and have it pull up. So you could hold on to it as you're rotating it back. Then add glue to all the tabs at once. Again, if you don't want to do a couple at a time, you just have to kind of really pull those tabs back to add glue to them. But there's not that many tabs that you could do it quick enough. So I did adhere the one across from the first one that I attached. And this is just so I don't go a little bit off skew as I go around. So if I just went around, sometimes I tend to glue it in the wrong place. But gluing the opposite tab always anchors it to make it easier. You see what it looks like inside, and then the tabs where my finger are going. Then once you have it together, you can see the head kind of slides right in. That was quick, at least. So now we have the hat pieces. So we have, those are all the hat pieces. Other than that small piece, I had an extra piece there. So we're again going to fold on all the score lines. And I tried to angle this. For some reason I was having trouble with my American Crafts black cardstock. It was a little bit stiff, this last batch I got. Sometimes they're a little bit more, this was a little bit more fibrous for some reason. I had a lot of tearing on this package, but that happens. So we're just going ahead and folding all the tabs and on the score, all the score lines. You see that's going to form the hat, the top of the hat. So we're going to add glue to this little side tab here. And then match up the opposite end. So align that edge to the tab fold. And then just wanted to get my excess glue. It's always good to have a wet paper towel nearby. And you can see that's forming the hat shape. So now that little piece was a little extra piece, so we got rid of it. That was the piece in the middle of this. And that's how the brim will go, the brim of the hat, I should say. And then, but first we're going to put on the top of the hat. So I'm kind of folding down the tabs. And I'm out of view a little bit. By folding them in, then I'm going to add glue to one of the tabs on the outside part of it. Because we don't want the tabs to show. So we need to glue this top panel onto the top of the hat. So carefully align one of the edges of that top panel to one of the sides. And match up that edge to the tab fold. And then go ahead and add glue to all these other tabs. And we're going to carefully glue it down. And match up the edges of this panel to all the tab folds best we can. So because you can reach in, you can go along the edge. So you can see I'm going around and doing one side at a time, just carefully placing it down. I don't want to push too hard because I have other sides that might just get glued down by accident. And I know it's dark, but it's similar to how we put that bottom piece on to the Snowman. And then you can just apply pressure to the tabs to the inside using a blunt instrument like a wooden chopstick. And then I'm just careful. I just wanted to make sure that you couldn't really see the gap for the gluing. So just trying to minimize the gap and making sure it's good and glued on. Another thing that helps is maybe like a gray, if you ink it or something like that, it helps with the edges if you get any glue that leaks out. So I had glue on my hands, so I just wanted to get it off really quick. And then I folded those tabs inward, but now I'm going to pull them outwards because I want to glue them, get them kind of flexible to glue them to the back side of the brim. So you want to make sure the textured, if you're using textured paper, the good side's up, because the bottom side will put a panel. So as I do with other parts of this design, just anchor one piece, make sure it's in a section, so the inside edge is aligned with that tab fold, so there's no gap. And we'll put that over it after we glue all the tabs down. So we'll do the opposite tab here, and that'll anchor it to help you glue the remaining tabs back. So be careful with too much glue. You don't want it kind of showing through. I tend to be heavy with the glue, so I say that because it's something I do. Once we have these all down, and you can see I just kind of reach from both sides to apply the pressure. We'll put that larger panel on to cover it. It'll give us something to glue the hat on to the top of the Snowman with just a hole there. Obviously, I could have just put tabs through that bottom piece, but I chose to do it this way because I can reach in better and apply pressure. Then you could do a thinner piece rather than cards. You know, if you have a thinner cardstock, it'd be good to cover it that way. But if you want to keep it the same, just make sure the textured part goes downwards. And then you just want to add glue around the bottom part of that brim. And this piece is just slightly smaller because I didn't want it overlapping just in case you didn't get it in the right spot. If you do a light glue, it's going to be easier to manipulate the brim a little bit of the hat. But I did it a little bit heavier. So I just determined what was the front, and you can kind of curl up the edges. But if you have a lot of glue, it's going to be harder. So just kind of curling it up however you want to, like an old hat. And then it'll just go on like that when we get to that part. So now we have this little circular piece for the hat rim. I apologize again for the out of focus. So we're just going to add glue to the end pieces. You can do glue to all of it, but it's round. It's not going to attach to every piece because of the shape of the hat. But the smaller radius goes on the bottom. You can see how it goes around. And you can dry fit it just to make sure you understand first before you glue it. So I add glue to that one piece and then the second piece. Because this was glitter cardstock, it was harder for the glue to adhere to the actual glitter piece right there. So we put that aside and let it dry. So now here comes the headpiece again. These pieces have to be in, you put them in order, and I put them from left to right. You can kind of tell where they go. When you match them up on the head, they will fit. So these are the head panels. You could emboss them or just keep them just how they are without embossing or pattern paper. And I'm going to curl them a bit with my hands. And then just add glue to the, I thought that was a pin that goes in there. I actually subsequently lost that pin after the filming of this. So you can see where it fits. So for this particular one, usually I go from top to bottom, but for this one, I think going from bottom to top works better because you can apply the pressure on the bottom part and then the top part. But when you're using cardstock, it's a little thicker. This is where the curling of it becomes more critical than not. So if you're using a thinner paper, it wouldn't be as difficult, but you still want to curve it a little bit. And you don't really need glue around the edges, but I figured if it touches it, it might help adhere it. So here I started at the top. I went to the bottom. But in my opinion, starting at the bottom, adhering the bottom and holding that bottom piece and then applying pressure on the top worked better for this particular design. So I'm going to go a little faster, but you can see how each piece is shaped like the side. So just make sure you have the correct piece before you move on. And one thing I'll note as you're doing this is that you can always tell what the front is because there's that, it's a larger section on the bottom than the back. And it will be, you won't be able to tell as much as you get these panels on. But they're the ones, the front signifies the ones with really the least amount of curves in it. So you see those are almost straight, those two that we just put on, that's the front of it. So when we start putting the face on, the way we want to check is to really kind of look at it from the profile, because it's like the head, I had it so the head's kind of tilting back. So the front of the head is kind of the, if Snowman had a chin, which they don't, but their virtual chin, it would be looking up. And these would be cute embossed, but I chose only emboss the bottom panels. So after this, we'll add the hat. So you just need to determine what the front is, and that, again, it's those two panels that had the least amount. If you look at the profile, you'll know which is the front. So in that, if you put curves in the hat, like I did, and I shouldn't have put the hat band where I did, I would put the hat band seam on the back if possible, or hide it with an embellishment. But that's the front. You can see it's the two sections with the least amount of curve on them as far as the panels go. And if you looked on the profile, you'd be able to see that. So I have it kind of like the rim is going to the sides, up on the sides just a little bit. And then when it comes to the eyes, after I did this video, so here's the mouth, so it'll go like that. And then we'll have the nose and the eyes. But when it comes to the eyes, I did make a change since this video. I didn't particularly have the look I wanted with those eyes, but it doesn't really matter. Here are the new eyes. You just want to piece them together. That's kind of a light blue that I used. It's a little choppy here. Then I just accented it with a white pen, a Jelly Roll pen. Again, I switched how I was filming this after this. And then I put them in here, but I just want to show you that I did use a different eye. I took the eyes off, as you can see in this video, and replaced them with these eyes. So these are the new eyes. So when you're looking at the rest of the video, just know that when you see the black eyes, I've replaced it in the design with these two eyes. So now we got that choppy video out of the way. So you want to place the eyes, you want to kind of dry fit everything before you glue it down. So with those new eyes, obviously. And then you don't want them too high because they'll get lost under the rim. And here we want to fold the carrot nose. And you'll see a little tab on the side here. So you're going to line up that other edge with the tab fold and carefully reach in if you need to use a chopstick or something thin that you can, a pen or something like that, to help you adhere that tab. And then push in the tabs. Then here, you'll see this little cutout piece right there. That's going to go on the bottom piece. So it's going to go like that. So I kind of have it cut out so it'll be easier to place. So you can push down and place it in, you could use glue dots if you want. You can try that. I just used glue, but first I just want to make sure where I want it first before I put the glue on. So we're just going to add the glue to these tabs, and you might need to manipulate it as you're putting it on, but I'm just kind of putting it up because I want it to kind of go up. So I'm kind of pushing it down and applying pressure from the back at the same time and adjusting. Try not to collapse it, of course. And then you want to hold that one good in place for a while just to make sure that it's set and doesn't pull off. Then once it's in place, we can add the mouthpiece. So there's no score or anything, you just want to place it. And be careful where you obviously place it. So place it where you want. It's supposed to be like a smiling snowman, kind of looking up. Now we're quickly transitioning to the sides, and you'll see that two sides have a slit in it, so you want to put those aside. Those will be for the arms. So we're going to take those two pieces, and we've curled them a little bit already to get them ready to put on the sides. But we're going to match these up, so they're just, you want to match up back to back, and if you have textured paper, make sure the textured paper is facing outward. But we're only gluing two together, twofold to make it stronger. And secondly, there's tabs on the end, so you only want to apply glue to where you'll see the little cutout. Instead of having you score, I kind of created cutout score lines. So regardless of any machine, they'll cut them out. And those, it'll fold back, these two tabs, to glue to the back of those two panels. So you want to put those together. Again, it's for twofold strength and also the ability to glue the arms to those panels and hide the tabs. So we're going to add these to the panels, but we're just kind of folding them back to get them ready. Make sure that they fold on the cut out little dash lines that are in the cut. Oh, I did the right one. Here are the two. And we kind of, I curved them a little bit, curled them. And we're just going to make sure that the top part is the smallest part on that side. We're going to add glue to the outside of each of these tabs. And make sure that you line up those little cut score lines to the opening. And then you can see that it will just hold the arm in place. So we're going to do the second one and we're going to put them aside. And we'll put these on last because we don't want them getting in the way as we're putting on the other panels. You just have to make sure you leave a space to put these two panels. And I'll explain after the first two. Just making sure that it was folding on the right score line. So we're going to put those aside. And we're going to add the body panels. So as you saw that I was curling them, so I already curled the other ones, but this is, I just kind of rubbed them to give them a little curve. To make it easier to put them on. So we're going to put them on the same way that we did the ones on the head. I put glue on the whole thing, but you only really need it on the top and bottom. So you want to start at the top and then kind of curl it over. Kind of as you push it down over all those scored pieces or edges, whatever it is. So on this one, I only put glue on the top and bottom. We're going to hold that in place as we kind of carefully curl it over to the bottom. And if it's not in the right place, just pull it off really quickly and start over. And then you see that my thumb's kind of rubbing over that bottom piece as I hold that top piece in place. You want to make sure it's secure before you move on. So we only put two. So we're going to skip one. So those two are the front. And then the ones we're skipping will be the arms. So we skipped one, and then we're going to put the remaining solid ones on. And then when we get done with the ones without the arms, we're going to add those two panels with the arms. So I used a fun snowflake embossing folder to emboss these. So the biggest issue you may have with this step is not the top, but because the top you can hold fairly well in place with your hand at the top. It's always going to be the bottom. So make sure you get it in place and just rub that bottom piece until it's adhered. So we're to the last panel without an arm. So now we can add the arm panels. So you're just going to do the same thing. You could add a little glue to the side. I just did it the wrong way here. Right there, I'm going to make that's the front. Add a little glue to the top and bottom again. But we just didn't want to have to fight with these arms. I mean, you could have added them in order. But as you turn it around, you might be knocking the arm against the table, and we didn't want to do that. And then one last arm here. So after we get this last piece on, we just need to add the little coal pieces and the scarf. So what I would recommend is when you cut out the coal pieces, just place them where you want. There's 3 of them. You can fold them on the 2 cut lines that are in each of the coal pieces of coal, and they'll just fold over the seam there in the middle. And then you add the scarf. So I did film this, but for some reason I had some failures, so we want to put that piece around, and then the little piece that hangs out, the scarf piece, you just glue it around the edge here, and that finishes it. You just want to add the head into the top, and that completes this project. And you can add any more embellishments on the hat or anything like that. I hope you enjoyed this project as I did. Thank you for watching.